Welcome everyone to another Genshin Impact character guide. If you are enjoying these videos, be sure to leave a like so other people can find this content more easily, and subscribe for new video notifications. Today we'll be looking at Mavuika, the pyro archon, and the leader of the Natlan region. She's admired and beloved by her people, and she's also one of the strongest playable characters in Genshin Impact. Mavuika is effective as both an on-field main damage dealer, or you can play her off-field in a sub-DPS role as well. We'll discuss both builds in this video, but first let's look at what she needs to reach max level. Her normal enemy drops are the whistle items from Natlan's Human Warriors. Her boss item is the gold-inscribed Secret Source Core, which you get from defeating the Secret Source Automaton Configuration Device boss in Natlan. And her local specialty item you gather through exploration is the Withering Purple Bloom, found in the Natlan region to the north of the Flower Feather Clan. For her talent materials, Mavuika uses the Contention items, which can be obtained from the Blazing Ruins domain south of the Children of Echoes area on Mondays, Thursdays, and Sundays. And her weekly boss drop is the Eroded Horn that you can receive from challenging the Lord of Eroded Primal Fire. Now let's take a look at some of Mavuika's best weapon choices. Regardless of how you decide to play as her, Mavuika's best weapon is her signature 5-star Claymore, 1,000 Blazing Suns. Other great 5-star weapons she can wield include Beacon of the Reed Sea, Wolf's Gravestone, Redhorn Stone Thresher, and if you plan to play Mavuika as an off-field sub-DPS character, then the Fang of the Mountain King becomes a viable choice as well. Her standout 4-star weapons include the Battle Pass exclusive Serpent Spine, and the limited time event weapon Mailed Flower. If you don't have those, some easier weapons to get that will work well for Mavuika are the Tidal Shadow craftable claymore from Fontaine, the Earthshaker craftable claymore from Natlan, or the Black Cliff Slasher, which can be obtained every other month via Paimon's Bargain Shop for 24 star glitter. And here are even more weapons Mavuika can use effectively. The main stats she's looking for on weapons include attack percent, crit rate, crit damage, or elemental mastery, so you should be able to find something that works well for her without too much trouble. Let's see what artifacts suit Mavuika best. In almost all scenarios, Mavuika is going to be at her best equipping 4 pieces of the Obsidian Codex artifact set. If you are going to play Mavuika as an off-field sub-DPS character, and nobody else on her team already has it, then you may prefer to use the Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City set instead. But outside of that specific scenario, sticking with the Obsidian Codex artifact set for Mavuika is recommended in general. For newer players who don't have access to the Natlan artifact sets yet, you can use Instructor or Gambler sets as good alternatives. Regardless of Mavuika's role on her team, the stats to focus on for her artifacts are the same. The Sands artifact piece should have an attack percent main stat to help increase her damage output, or Elemental Mastery is a good alternative if you'd rather focus on increasing the damage from elemental reactions. Her Goblet should have a pyro damage bonus main stat, and her Circlet should either have crit rate or crit damage for its main stat. Artifact substats that Mavuika benefits most from are crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, and elemental mastery. Unlike most characters in the game, Mavuika doesn't use energy at all, so energy recharge is a useless stat for her. Next, let's briefly cover her talent level priorities. If you're playing Mavuika as an on-field damage dealer, then her Elemental Burst is the talent with the highest priority to level, followed by her Elemental Skill, and then you can save her normal attack for last. If you're playing her as an off-field sub-DPS character instead, then her elemental skill takes priority, followed by her burst, and her normal attack is not necessary to level, since she will not be using it with this approach. The key components of Mavuika's playstyle are her elemental skill and elemental burst. If you are playing Mavuika on field as a main damage dealer character, then you'll want to use a combination of her elemental skill and burst regularly. Her elemental skill makes it so that pyro damage is applied to nearby enemies every few seconds for a duration if you tap it. This effect continues even if she goes off field and you switch to a different active character. If you hold the elemental skill button instead, she hops on her flamestrider motorcycle and her attacks gain a pyro element infusion, as well as increasing her damage and overall mobility. To take the most advantage of the times when Mavuika is riding her bike, you'll want to use her charge attacks. She spins in circles, and you can freely control her movement while doing this. It takes a little practice to get used to, but she does the most damage this way compared to her normal attacks. Mavuika's elemental burst is unusual because she doesn't use energy at all. It instead works off of a stat unique to her called Fighting Spirit. Fighting Spirit is increased by either consuming Night Soul points or by having your party members perform their normal attacks. Unlike most characters, Mavuika can use her elemental burst when the Fighting Spirit meter is filled halfway, rather than having to wait until it is 100% full. If you do fill it more fully, then the strength of her attacks is increased even further. When you use her elemental burst, it quickly does a single instance of high damage to enemies in an area around her. It also further empowers her normal and charge attacks, so if you are playing Mavuika on field, after using her burst, you want to perform her charge attack again and deal increased damage to enemies while the buffs from her burst are in effect. If instead you are playing Mavuika off-field as a sub-DPS role, then you want to focus more on keeping the tap version of her elemental skill active as much as possible. And when it comes time to use her bursts, you only really need the single instance of large damage at the start of it. And rather than continuing after that with her charge attack like you would if she was on field, instead you just switch to your other characters after dealing that single instance of high damage with their burst. Outside of combat, when exploring around Natlan, Mavuika offers incredible mobility. Her flamestrider bike can climb up cliffs, ride atop the water's surface, and even fly through the air. She combines the special mobility features of characters like Jalonin, Mualani, and Shaska all into one character. The only features she doesn't have are Kenichi's grappling hook ability and the super speed running that Yansan and Varesa are capable of. Mavuika has a variety of teams she can fit into very well. One thing that is important to mention, though, is that she performs best with at least one other supporting character from Natlan on her team. She works especially well with Sitlali and Jalonin, but if you don't have those characters, Yansan, Auroran, Kachina, or even the Pyro Traveler can also help strengthen Mavuika's capabilities. As an on-field damage dealer role, she pairs well with characters outside of Natlan like Bennett, Chevres, Farina, Kazuha, and Rosaria. She works great on teams focused on melt, vaporize, or overloaded reactions, but she can be a valuable addition to many different types of teams, so don't limit yourself to just those choices. As an off-field sub-DPS role, she has even more viable options for her team compositions. A vaporize-focused team would work great with Mualani or Nirvalet as the main damage dealers. She fits in well on a melt-focused team with characters like Risley or Ganyu as main DPS roles. Burning-focused teams with Kenich and Emily work well too. Overloaded teams can work well with either Raiden or Clorand as main DPS, and Chevres as a support. And even double pyro and double geo element teams can be very viable, with characters like Navia, Shalonen, and Bennett. Rainbow element teams with Chaska, or mono pyro teams alongside characters like Arlecchino or Linny would also work. There are numerous possibilities, so experiment and find a team composition that you like best for her. Just remember to bring along at least one other Natlan character as her teammate if you can. Mavuika's constellations are quite potent, especially her second constellation. Her first constellation gives a boost to her attack, and also increases the rate at which she accumulates her fighting spirit. This means that she'll get her burst more quickly and more often, and when she uses it, she'll become even more empowered than before. Her second constellation is the true Standout. It lowers enemy defense by 20% whenever Mavuika uses the tap version of her elemental skill. And when she's on her bike, she deals even further increased damage. Her fourth constellation gives an even further boost to the damage she deals with her elemental burst throughout its entire duration. And her final constellation improves both forms of her elemental skill, increasing their damage output, as well as providing some quality of life improvements while traversing Natlan on her flamestrider bike outside of combat. Thankfully, Mavuika is already very strong even at 0 constellations, so she will perform well without additional copies. But her Constellation 2 is an excellent point to reach if you can spare the Primogems. Mavuika is an incredibly strong character that especially shines when fighting alongside her Natlan friends. She will serve you well, especially while exploring Natlan areas, but even outside of Natlan too. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. And you can learn how to build and play as other characters in Genshin Impact by checking out my playlist here. Thank you for watching. See you again soon.